can't stand rats. They are probably nasty little vermin who do nothing but ruin a perfectly good attic. To be honest with you, I never really had a problem with rats until just recently. You see, my apartment has recently been infested with rats. There's a huge den of them living in my attic. Although at night you can hear them crawling around the attic as they try to dig big holes so that more of their mates can come into play. I also hate rats because, quite frankly, they're absolutely terrifying. Everyone has their phobias, and mine would have to be rats. They don't look right. They do look like they came right out of the fiery depths of Hell's Kitchen. No one even likes rats. Not even Henry Tomenso likes them. Now, that shows you about why they are hated, and why doesn't it, reader? My rat's problem is so bad that my wife refuses to live with me until I got rid of them. So while I'm busy trying to find an exterminator who can help me with this infestation, my wife is busy on a holiday in Spain with her co-worker, and totally not with her lover, Charles. My wife works as accounting with Charles serving as head accountant of her company. While meanwhile I work for the charm end of the sugar company in Hartley Dale. It's her fault that the rats had showed up in the first place, and you see, it puts me in fully cooked up meals in the attic, so that way she could feed the hornets and who also occupy the attic with a massive nest. My wife is obsessed with hornets, which makes me angry. She also dressed up as a horrifying wasp Halloween costume whenever we go out to eat. It's so embarrassing. It makes me want to vomit out my insides. Now, moving on from my wife's weird habits. I've actually tried my best to find an exterminator, but cannot find anyone who is willing to go up there. Okay, I'm actually lying. The real reason why is I'm incredibly cheap is for some kind of like Mr. Krabs, and thus refused to pay an exterminator who demanded the attic to be paid like $1,000 an hour every hour on the hour. I was planning on saving up my money so I could buy a local vegan house ran by Gaston. The vegan house is at least losing money daily, so I believed that under my control, Gaston's money troubles would be solved overnight. One miserable rainy day, I had finally had enough of those damn rats crawling around my attic and decided that something needed to be done about it. I went inside my attic and make sure that there was like 1 million of rats just chilling and eating my wife's Xbox controller, cause the Xbox box while I'm at home, I'm more alter, get it? Eventually they noticed me as I pulled out a large gas container of rat poison. I put a gas mask on and began spraying the poison all over the basement. I was able to kill at least 200 of the little rats. That's of course until I felt something behind the back of my head and I passed out on the floor as everything went black. 2 hours and 45 minutes went by. I woke up to realize I was tied to a chair at the corner of my attic. Oddly though, the chair of the attic didn't smell of rat poison. No, it smelled like fresh cooked cheese straight in front of my grandmother Edgar's oven. Sorry about knocking you out, my friend. You did kill like 200 of my boys. A sound and a voice could be heard from the shadows in front of me saying, "Show yourself," I said as the person in the voice made themselves unknown. It stepped out of the shadows and glared down at me as I passed out again. Of course, it was a huge rat. I mean, proper things like 8 feet tall. The rat was more than a humanoid of your average size house rat. It stood up on its legs and it wore a makeshift crown on top of its head and had 6 packs. I didn't even know what rats could have had 6 packs, but whatever, I'll buy it. I gulped heavily before asking, "What the hell are you?" "I am the Rat King," the monster rat said before continuing with, "And these are my friends." Then all of a sudden, 2 large rats entered the shadows behind the king. I recognized both of them instantly. One of them was a rat, while the other one was a Chef Marcel Del Dorn. Busted, the rat proclaimed evilly as he cut to one side of my face with his claws. Marcel Tong tried to hit me with a wooden spoon, but was stopped by a rat who screamed, "Wait your turn!" The pair were then silenced by the Rat King, who said, "Calm down, fellas. Before you go ahead and kill your guest, perhaps we should explain why he was there in the first place." "You're very right, King," Tron said as the Rat King began to explain the current situation to me. To make a long story short, Basically, the Rat King and his subjects once dominated the sewers of Empire Bay. Everything was going on well until 6 months ago, when a group of 4 penguins decided to take up the residence in King's Dormant. He managed to defeat the penguins with the ease until they revealed their secret weapon. King Julian, the lemur, who proclaimed to be the rightful king of the sewers. King Julian defeated the Rat King without even trying. The Rat King humiliated and fled the sewers with every dumb, but his loyal subordinates still stayed with him. For the next 6 months, Rat King eventually had his minions search the streets of Empire Bay for somewhere new to make their lodgings. Eventually, the king and his crew settled upon my house, and they were fully aware of my wife putting fully cooked meals in the basement so the hornets can eat it. They knew about this because one of my neighbors who had a rat living in the kitchen acted as a mole for the king. The rat had a severe nose injury, and of course, there was the same as the rat was. Jack in the Box parties raided by the police. The king and his subjects arrived in my attic, but the hornets were not too welcoming to the visitors. One of the hornets tried stinging at the king right at his six-pack, only for him to be laughed before saying, "Big mistakes, little buddy." He then crushed a wasp to death with his bare hand before doing the same thing to the entire hive. With the hornets dead, the Rat King and his minions set up their new home. They were fully aware that I was planning on getting rid of them, but they didn't want to think about this just till now. Then the king said, "Don, bring me the DVD." "Yes, boss," Ton said, as he pulled out a large silver briefcase into the table in front of me. "What is this?" I asked the Rat King, who responded with, "Something which hopefully will change your mind on rats." Doing so, opened up the briefcase and it showed the contents to me. Inside the case sat up a small blank DVD case. "A DVD?" I asked before continuing with, "How is that going to change my mind on rats?" "You'll see," the king said as he had the rat toning up, popped the DVD into the DVD player nearby. The DVD started off with the intro of Bear in the Big Blue House began to play. I hadn't seen that show in so many years. The intro was really bad. It was in slow motion. It took about 6 hours for a bear to come in on the screen. The intro just wasn't right. Luna and the Moon was made from cheese. Tutter had no nose. The music was just sang by Big Shock. Sadly, Big Shock still wouldn't take his coat off, which really disgusts his girlfriend, who looks like a pickled onion. After the same theme song, the title came on the screen and it read, "Greatness from Small Beginnings." The episode showed off a brief 2-second clip of a nearby sweaty, cheesy toy collector staring at the screen. After for about a bit of that, the episode then cut back to show Bear opening his front door in order to greet the viewers as normal. However, Bear did not look happy. In fact, he looked really tired. There were huge black bags from under his eyes and his fur looked messy. "Oh, hey there. There, come on in," or something, Bear said as the camera followed him inside. Bear stopped and stayed in his tracks and began sniffing around as normal. "What's that smell?" "Smells like crap," Bear then pointed out at the screen. "It's you! Why don't you take a bath before you came here?" I vomited. How could I not ask you that? Seeing Bear swear like that just made me feel uneasy. That's so disgusting, my little duckling," the Rat King cried as he was forcing Marcel to clean up my stick. "Can I go now?" I asked before earning a massive slap across the face from the rat. "Do as the king says, son," Rat warned as he redirected my head with his paws to the television again. I didn't even bother with the rat as is the boss after all. Bear made his way into the living room. A natural man shows up spraying something into a piece of cheese. "So this stuff is really gonna work, Mike?" Bear asked as the man responded with, "It should do it, Bear. That mouse eats that cheese and bam, he'll be deader than a dead Bart." Then the man handed the piece of cheese to Bear before making his leave. "Thanks again, Ted," Bear says as the man left for the door. Meanwhile, the cheese was shown sitting outside of Tutter's hole in his house. Bear had left in there in order to encase the blue mouse's cravings. Trilo then showed up being a moron as usual. When he spotted the cheese, Trilo, "Like cheese," Trilo said as he picked up the cheese and ate it all in one bite. Then he held his stomach and said, "Oh, Trilo don't feel so good." Then he proceeded to vomit all over the place before collapsing onto the floor dead. "Oh, darn it, Trilo!" Bear muttered as he saw Trillo lying dead on the floor. He scooped up Trillo up in the shovel before tossing him into a dustbin. That's when Bear had another idea. Bear then ran over to Tutter's hole and then hopped down to the floor. "Oh, Tutter, want to play chess?" Bear asked again as Tutter responded with, "Sure, Bear." Tutter and Bear made their way over to the kitchen table where they were playing chess. When it came to Tutter's turn, he looked really uncomfortable. 2 months eventually passed, and Bear looked really confused and said, Tutter. Tutter began to excuse himself from the table and ran off to take a dump. When Tutter returned to his hole to find out that Bear was waiting outside for him, Bear then said, "Tutter, use a diaper, or else you will die." Tutter's face was in shock and reminded him of a good 10 minutes. Why did Bear want Tutter to wear diapers? Well, my friends, Bear was actually being paid big bucks by the diaper company enforce diaper-wearing regulations in the Bear Big Blue House. However, people like Tutter choose boycott those rules despite Bear's protests. The episode then transitions to the show how Tutter returning to the kitchen table in order to find a game of checkers. "Well, my dear Tutter, I believe it's time to die," Bear said as Tutter cried, "Oh, but Bear, I don't want to die." Tutter," Bear asked as he held up a knife in the air. Yeah, Tutter then sighed before taking a turn. He managed to beat Bear at checkers in just 2 seconds. "If you, Bear," Tutter laughed before popping it to the table screen, and then of course it cuts to black, but a big noise could be heard in the background. Then the episode cut off to a Don Vito Coraline telling some fat old lady about how to save money on her car insurance. "Miss Hudgens, remember this direct line or else?" Then some sweaty man came on the screen and yelled, "Want some gas, you some want? These clips are getting out of hand. I tried to break off my chair, but I was held down by the rap rat. He calmed me, my friend for the best part of this soon to happen." The rats came soon said as the episode went back to normal. The episode showed Bear had been the one to die instead of Tutter. Somehow, Tutter managed to get an upper hand right in the fight with Bear. Tutter then grabbed like a whistle and blew in it. All of a sudden, a huge gang of rats and mice appeared in front of the kitchen in front of Tutter. "My friends, today is the day we take over Woodland Valley. No longer will be look after upon over the likes of Bear," Tutter explained as his rats and mice behaved and clapped in admiration of their leader. The episode then showed the reason for Bear hiring Ted Glenn is to exterminate Tutter. The reason why exactly was the same as mine. Bear had gotten very angry because Tutter kept inviting his friends in the house to play Scrabble throughout the night. It was driving Bear up the wall, and he was keeping him from getting a good night's rest. So Bear did the most logical and imaginable hiring of the exterminator to get rid of Tutter. Bear and Glenn rationed at the house with that Tutter was dead. The mice and the rats would suit sense to stop coming to Bear's darn house. Tutter was no fool, however. He anticipated Bear's plan to kill him. He actually had been planning on driving Bear crazy so he could get a chance to kill him. The motive behind Tutter killing Bear, well, you see, Tutter had long since grown tired and he was always getting dumped on. Not literally, of course, that would be gross, but he did not want to be on the top dog. But Bear and his friends seemed to not always get in their way. In order as the enclosure that would happen. The rest of Tutter's friends had similar stories of his. One of Tutter's friends, Remy, helped out with the famous chef Alfredo Lugini to become some of the famous. He helped Lugini make the world's famous Lugini soup that even snotty Chef Skinner can't even help but love. Rennie was very angry because of Lugini and was taking all the credit for his success. Remy wanted to get back in Lugini, so that's why he's locked off in alliance with Tutter. Rizzo the Rat was another friend of Tutter's who, like Tutter, being the subjects to joke around and harsh bullying by his Muppet Birain. His friend Gonzo even had turned on him by siding with the corrupted views of Kermit the Frog, Fozzie Bear. Rizzo was been forced by Kermit to live underground bunker with the rest of his rats. He wanted his revenge, so he was going to get it, even if he did kill him. Tutter and his gang made their way upstairs to find Pip and Pop messing around with the attic with Luna the Moon laughing at them. "Hey Tutter, want to join the Mystic Order of Toilet Ears?" That sounded pretty dumb. Rizzo then said bluntly, "Rizzo, you and Remy take care of them," Tutter said as he had Pip and Pop attacked by Remy and Rizzo. "Tutter, why are you doing this?" Luna asked. "No more talkie," Tutter said as he smashed Luna into pieces with a sledgehammer. "Yes, one sledgehammer that managed to destroy the moon. How does that work exactly?" I haven't got a Scooby-Doo. Just and so then that Tutter and his gang then took Barry's body outside and of course buried in the backyard. They also did the same thing with Pip and Pop. Stop right there, a voice yelled in the distance. Then the camera panned over to show that it was none other than Harris. Yes, it was Harris that survived the spider ordeals with the progenitor man under the shady circumstances. Slim shady circumstances, if you would. Ha! How did you kill Bear? Harris asked as Tutter responded with, Bear killed himself instead. So, of course, with the life he had, Harris then began chasing after Tutter with his shady AK-47, and he was until Tutter's gang began swarming around Harris. They climbed on top of Harris and he screamed, Get them off of me! Get them off of me! He was once again drowned by a river of rats and mice. Hopefully he will stay dead. Poor Harris was planning on moving to France with his best friend Talbot. Also, Talbot was present during the murder of Harris, but did nothing to stop Tutter. He never liked Harris anyway, so sad. After they were done with Harris, Tutter and his gang made their way down the streets, completely took over Woodland Valley. They controlled every street, and there were so many of them that they could get outside their work. Ted Glenn tried his best to kill as many rats as he could, but he couldn't possibly kill all of them. That's why he was taken too far, of old Glenn, that is. What is this? Zoran asked as he was doing some early Christmas shopping with Lieutenant Dardraza and Harry Finn. Legrazeva even began shooting the rats with a double-barrel shotgun. Onto the bridge! He cried, but of course was consumed by the river of rats and mice as Dreza and Flynn fell down. President Trump ended up placing Woodland Valley under a martial law and our first law enforcement into the area to resort to deadly force when it came to the care of Tutter and his gang. Police reinforcements were now drafting across the globe and even as far as Vince City. Sadly, the martial law did not do anything to stop, weakened by Tutter and his forces. In fact, if anything, it just made them stronger and far more aggressive. Tutter then got involved with the rat of the taxes and then had people owed him money shaken down by his enforcers. One of those being Rap Rat. Give me your money! Rap Rat screamed at the very top of his lungs, whistled, slicing over the dipper apart with his claws. So gross. I mean, seriously, just no. The police, meanwhile, were too distracted by Tutter and his gang's activities that they had no real life in time to do much of anything. When the police, distracted by the mayhem of Tutter that was causing, crime in Woodland Valley was all the time they had left. Corner shops and even bakeries victims to robberies. Even the local grocery stores by Richie and Eddie, who are best friends, who were robbed by Rizzo, who was acting as Tutter's orders. Rizzo even stole Eddie's hula hoops, which made him sob deeply in the cash register. Get used to it, chump. We own this place in town now, Rizzo said as Richie began chasing him after, only to get incredibly by an old lady who was shopping for some brims and pickles. What's the matter with you, mad? You mad? The old lady asked Richie, who responded with holding his fist up to his face. Want some of this? Do you? Richie threatened before chasing the old lady down the road before beating himself up with her 8-foot-tall grandson. Eddie, meanwhile, sat on the roof above with his mate, Mike. The pair were close, and apparently some romance was going on there. It was just very hard to tell. The Gerson gallery was especially tearful, and of course they had recently just bought a large diamond from the local governor. They requested that they aid the world's famous gem explored by Richard Fudge. I'm sure you are all aware of Olfacioed. If you have been reading the Bruna Tegler / Oliver Charles Funny Pasta Guide, there's a lot to go on there. The owner of this gallery, George Jefferson, was very fearful in the diamond that they came in a shoe of Governor Shaw fetching. He will not let anyone take his precious diamond away from him. On a chilly morning, a door occupied, and of course the front door of the gallery, Mr. Greason went to answer it to see that it was none other than Richard Fudge himself. Thank you for coming on such a short notice, mister. Mr. Gerson was then cut off by Fitchard, who had pushed him out of his way by Pa Fritz. The chief of the police sent me, he said, before continuing with, the concern of the diamond held in your gallery maybe have been replaced with a phony. Of course, Fitchard was allowed to take into the diamond containment room, where he began licking the diamond for a good 20 minutes. Yes, you have been duped. Fat Chewed cried as Grayson asked, "What have we have?" "Yes, by me," Fat Chewed laughed evilly before shooting up darts, and of course his eyes knocking out the entire gallery staff, including Mr. Grierson and Fritz. Richard has also pulled out of his face, revealing to be the mask of the entire time. Sutter climbed out of the makeshift fat suit and laughed evilly. The real Richardson was on holiday in Turkey. Despite this being a personal assessment, Fritz was not the one on vacation with his boss. And of course, he didn't trust him enough yet. Sorry to say this, but I doubt he ever will. Tutter then ended up selling up the diamond on eBay and used the money that he made from his sale to turn on the Big Blue house into a super mansion. Woodland Valley was renamed Tutter Valley. Tutter and his gang were completely controlled by his own entire house, infested with rats, and no one, I repeat, was ever going to take that away from them again. Rizzo then went on to become the world's famous actor, while Kermit and Miss Piggy ended up living in a dole of a small, run-down house. Kermit ended up finding work as a loan manager under Scrooge this whole time, and of course all of Kermit's partners were rats, which they have finally allowed him to put aside to pre-justice and receipts that Gusto was right all along. Also, Remy opened up his very own successful restaurant called La Ratatouille, which of course was far more successful than Linguini's smelly restaurant. In fact, just weeks later, after La Ratatouille opened, Gusto's closed up for good after Linguini killed a bunch of local health inspector. Good riddance, I say. With that said, the episode ended. Then Tom pressed the stop on the DVD player and the normal credits began to play. "Well, what did you think?" the Rat King asked as I asked, "How is this supposed to make me love rats exactly?" "Tutter isn't really a rat to begin with. He's a mouse." The Rat King was then cut off by Rap Rats, who yelled, He's the talk of the town that he's making history." The Rat King then pulled out a large butcher knife and held it close to me and said, "What a shame, kid. I was planning on recruiting you for our gang as my guard." I closed my eyes before bracing on impact, but it never came. I opened my eyes to see that the Rat King and his cohorts were jumping out of the attic window as General R. Asquith appeared in the scene. "Are you okay, Mr. Green?" Asquith asked me as I had one of his soldiers untie me from my chair. "More or less," I answered as Asquith said, "Well, come on, we gotta get that guy before him and his rats invade someone else's attic." General Asquith and I made our way inside the elevator, which of course had it installed in my attic, in case if the stairs to the attic ever blew up. While in the elevator, I accidentally farted and said, "I'm getting poisoned by the gas exchange. I need to be naked." "I rejoice it," General Asquith said, before continuing with, "Your body is magnificent." Then we proceeded to stare at each other for an uncomfortable amount of time before the elevator finally reached to the living room. Once inside the living room, we could see that the Rat King with his two buddies were stealing a cop car. We made our way to the streets where Asquith revealed General Asquith Mobile. It was a car-shaped P. Of course, Asquith's mother had gotten it for her son so many years and months of Christmas mornings ago. Even longer now than it seems, me and Asquith began speeding after the Rat King and his lieutenants, Marcel, Ton, and Rap Rat. We eventually got to ram the King's car off the road before it caused to roll over and then bust into flames. The Rat King left us killed by Ton and Rap Rat while he made his way towards the battle arena. Ton was doing his things by capturing lobsters, who proceeded to throw Ton's into a pot of boiling water. You see, they all received a steak from a Ton, who of course gave him the food poisoning that was way of getting the revenge. "Marcel!" Rap Rat cried as he whistled, sinking his knees into sobbing heavily. I laughed at his sobs more than anyone could. Me and General Asquith made our way to the arena with the Rat King waiting for us. The rest of the King's Rat miners were watching and cheering as their beloved leader. "Here is the deal, Green," the Rat King said before continuing with, "You beat me in a fight, and me and my friends will go back to the sewers. And if you win," I asked as the Rat King responded with, "It's best not to think about what will happen to you if I win. Get the picture, sport?" General Asquith tried charging at the Rat King, but only to get picked up in the air, and then he was thrown off to Jupiter by the Rat King, who sent them sights upon me. I could see by the look in his eyes that he was going to kill me. Thankfully, the fight was interrupted when I heard a toilet duck riding then on a massive sink with legs. How does my toilet ever get cleaned? It's just easy. My duck is on the team. Toilet duck sang as he landed right in front of the rat's cane and beat him up with a pulp. Then he punched a rat's cane and then he ended up flying into space. We will meet again, Joseph Green, the rat's king could be heard saying before he flew to the sky. Oh, look, there's a flying going in the sky, General Asquith said as he recovered from his beating. Toilet Duck offered to give us a lift home, and we agreed. Arriving back home, General Asquith had to make a little cup of tea for us while I made my experience down on his laptop. He is currently sitting by me on the couch, finishing writing this. I have no doubt that the Rat King will ever return. He will be back with more rats, and this time, however, I will be ready for him. So readers, if you ever see a rat in your house, kill it immediately. You never know what that rat could very well be, planning to revolting against you or do something to take over your town or city. Perhaps if Bear had foreseen Tutter's betrayal, then maybe the whole thing would be avoided. Perhaps in a way, Bear was then aware of the scheme all along, but it was just so hard to tell. Rat Prats is now a roommate and opens up a lot of mortgages. But whatever, this means goodbye for now, peeps, and be back as soon as possible. Also, before to conclude, this story was sponsored by Carson Clay Chocolate. Click on the link in the description if you want to see some Carson Clay chocolate bars. Made over by the Lomer La movie director, Mr. Carson Clay. The bars tasted horrible. It cost you, like, of course, over $100 million, and they'll make your gums bleed to death and smell like fish for 3 months straight. Good luck with that, and also you'll be forced to pay Chef the Clay the money unless you do some stuff and free in the morning. But don't have to worry about that, dear reader. Thoughts not. Bye bye. And that, my little pretties, was Greatness from Small Beginnings. A Bear in the Big Blue House, Lost Episode, Funny Pasta, written by Matthew Bumford. Matthew Bumford, I want to thank you so much for the story. The story was absolutely really awesome. You did a pretty good job with the story, and I obviously have to say that this one was just absolutely amazing. I could definitely say it was just amazing. I can definitely say that. Now, my final thoughts on this story. Okay, since this story was actually really long, I'm going to keep the review as short as I possibly can. So, although I can definitely say that I really enjoyed this pasta. Like, I really liked this story. This story was absolutely amazing. Like, first thing I can definitely say was that I do appreciate the good grammar, the sentence structuring, the paragraph structuring, the storyline of how it all went out. You had to admit. When I first read this, I laughed. It was awesome, and it was obviously hilarious. Now, Matthew Bumford, you do know how to make a good troll pasta. I can definitely say that. Now, about this story, I have to say this story was absolutely amazing. Now, I did say my reasons why, and is there any negatives? No. Surprisingly, I do not have anything negatives with the story. There's nothing I can put my finger on it that I didn't like. Like, there's nothing I could put my finger on it. So, I guess that's a good thing. Okay. Now, I can definitely say that the concept itself was just absolutely amazing. Like, the concept of this pasta was absolutely flat out amazing. Like, I'm gonna be honest, like, the story was actually really good. There's definitely time and effort into the story, which is a very good thing when it comes to stories. Like, you'll always have to have time and effort, and this story actually proves to be one of them. It was really, really good. Okay. The story was actually really cool, and even though it's long, I'm going to make this quick as, this video is going as long as it is, so I'm going to be completely honest with that. Okay. Now, is there anything else I have to say about the story? No. I don't have anything else to say about the story. Obviously, it's a really good story, Matthew Bumford, and I do appreciate the good grammar, which that's really something. Because, you know, nowadays, the grammars in stories nowadays, especially others from Goshia, that are not written by, you know, Matthew Bumford or my friends, they're just garbage, and I'm being honest. But this one was absolutely amazing. You did an awesome job, Matthew Bumford, and I recommend you write more of these kind of stories. These stories were just amazing. Okay. I'm gonna say this right now, that this is simply my own personal opinion, and if you disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regards to these creepypastas, or funny pastas in this case, and this is simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of this story would have to be a 10 out of 10. It's a great creepypasta, well, funny pasta. I like the concept itself, the grammar, the sentence structuring, the paragraph structuring, the storyline. Everything about it was just flat out amazing, which I could definitely say was really good. Now, about this story, it's on Goshia for those who want to check it out. Feel free to check this out. This was written by Matthew Bumford. Thank you so much for the story, Matthew Bumford. Be sure you submit me more stories. And if you're doing story requests, will it be okay if I can request you a story or something? Because, before I wrap up, to Matthew Bumford, if you do story requests, can I, request you a story? And if so, I will let you know in the comments down below. And what I did notice something while I was reading this is that the Bear in the Big Blue House episode, there was actually parts and scenes that kind of remind me of one of the Bear in the Big Blue House YouTube poops, which I have to say I haven't seen that YouTube poop in a while. But if I could find it, I'll probably link it down below for those who want to see it. But anyways, what did you all think about this creepypasta? You all enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what we have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. If you're brand new here to this channel, be sure to like, comment, subscribe because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload so you guys won't miss another upload. And yeah, and like always, please roll the outro because I'm out of here, and I'll be seeing you all in the next video. Peace out.